Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 495 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for March 18th, 2018. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Google brings life back to wearables, EA removes microtransactions from Star Wars, and streaming music has its ups and downs. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Music Play Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of other podcatchers, on any of our live stream platforms, including livestream.com, Periscope, Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube, or of course on any of the social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or of course on our apps, PLUGHITZlive.com/apps. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at about 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join us live by going to f5live.tv/join us. From there, you're able to chat with us in the studio and give us your ideas on the topics as we talk about them, which is something that we always love, especially for the Pilch Point, which this evening we will be talking about a topic that we teased 2 weeks ago, which is the Tech Support Showdown, which is one of my favorite times of the year from Abram. But if you're not able to join us live, that is okay. You can also subscribe to our show by going to plughitzlive.com/subscribe. From there, you're able to see all of our series, including F5 Live and the Pilch Point, as well as our other series, including First Looks, our special events feed, and many others. Speaking of special events, we have got quite a schedule coming up over the next week or so. Next Saturday, I believe, we will be at Gulf Coast Maker and Comic-Con. And then Sunday, we will have a normal show. And then I think Tuesday, we have another special event at the Synapse Tampa Bay Innovation Summit. So it's going to be a busy couple of days. And if you're following us or subscribed to a number of our series, there's still content coming out. First Looks is about to have a whole bunch of content start publishing, I think, tomorrow. And then special events will have stuff from the Innovation and from the other one, the Gulf Coast Maker and Comic-Con. So lots of content coming your way. And then, of course, Abram and I every week. Abram, how has your week been?
Very, very busy. Whew. Very busy. Very busy week. We got our Tech Support Showdown up. Have a couple of really key products that we're preparing that I can't talk about all of them for reviews for this coming week. It's been a lot been a lot to do and some to do this weekend, but you can't really complain about having a job where you get to play with the latest toys. So how have you been?
Pretty good. Our two First Looks events were great. The Orlando Regional last week was fantastic. I got to do something that the teenage Scott in the back of my head was freaking out about. Woody Flowers, who is one of the big names at MIT, as well as one of the co-founders of the first organization, was at the Orlando Regional because it was the 20th anniversary, and we had him on the show. This is a guy who I've looked up to since the mid-'90s, and to get to have him on the show was awesome. And we had a great conversation. The interview is one of my favorite of all time. So, yeah. And then since then, it's been a busy week getting all of the interviews from those two events ready. so that we can start publishing them tomorrow. So yes, I totally understand. I think I'm 15 interviews into about 30 to 35 ish. So yes, I understand. Oh, I understand busy week. But that's okay. It was a great event last week, and I got to co-host a panel, a workshop at the Orlando Regional, which was pretty cool, about being your own boss, which was really well attended. So that was cool too. So it's been an interesting week or so, 8 days for me. But that's good. It's like you said, it's always busy is okay, because the thing we get to do is pretty cool. So, on that, how about we talk about some stuff that happened this week? Maybe. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether it's a laptop, a tablet, an Xbox One, the Harman Kardon Invoke, the Samsung Galaxy S9, and I know that might sound crazy, but it's not. All of them are available through the Microsoft Store, sometimes even for less than the regular retail price, including saving up to $600 right now on a variety of Windows 10 PCs. And you can find all of the deals and all of the products that are available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Always strange to see like Android phones on the Microsoft Store. Although I understand it. They're not doing phones anymore. I got it. Anyway, speaking of Android, this week, a brand that has kind of faded from most people's everyday conscious thoughts, Android Wear, received some love in the form of a bit of a rebrand. So far it's the only thing they've done, but we'll talk about in a second that I don't think it's where they're going to stop. Instead of Android Wear, it is now called Wear OS. Here are my thoughts on why they've done this. I think that since Android Wear devices work on both Android and iOS devices, I think people were confused. I legitimately think that people only thought that the Apple Watch worked on iPhones. At least not everybody, but I think that caused them problems. What do you think, Abram?
Yeah, although this isn't their biggest, that shouldn't be their biggest concern at this point. But yes, I'm sure that caused them problems. Maybe they also want to move away from the Android name because the experience that you get on Android Wear isn't exactly an Android experience.
Sure.
So, it's a different UI. It's a different thing. I mean, there are watches out there. You can get them on, on eBay and other places that actually run stock Android.
Right.
And are basically a tablet on your wrist. And this is not that. So, great. They're rebranding it. Now let's see them fix it so that it's useful. There's so many problems with Android Wear OS. The interface of it just makes you swipe like crazy. It's disorganized and has been since the start. There's yet to be an Android Wear watch that comes out that really is super compelling. Like, yeah, there's some that have okay features. There's not. It's really kind of proven the case that you need a smartwatch. Samsung does it better on their proprietary Galaxy Gear watches, and Apple, I gotta hand it to Apple. The Apple Watch is by far the best smartwatch on the market. Yet even with that, it's a little hard to say, well, what am I getting out of this smartwatch? What do I need it for? Obviously, there's fitness tracking. So if you want fitness tracking, you can get a smartwatch, or you could just get a fitness band that does the same thing.
Sure.
Or if you carry your phone in your pocket, it will also track your steps. although maybe not as accurately. So, it's hard to say, but I mean, I was as big a proponent as anybody of I want to have like the email on my wrist. I want to have all this stuff on my wrist.
Uh-huh.
But the problem is they're so unambitious, especially Android Wear is so unambitious. It's like, oh, great. Great. So I can swipe here and I can basically see the notification drawer that's on my phone. Lovely. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take you can't I mean it's just not very exciting. Like, okay, it saves me a few like a second to whip out my phone
Right.
to see what's going on there. And that could matter because the average person is glancing at their phone about 150 times a day. So if you were just wondering whether that new email you just got was an important missive from your boss or a piece of spam that you can just ignore, then like having a wristwatch and getting information can be helpful.
Sure.
But unfortunately, the way that Android Wear is organized, where it tries to decide what you need to see and you got to swipe through it, is kind of annoying.
Absolutely.
And what you've never been able to do on any watch platform that I've seen. I liked Pebble the best because at least Pebble gave you an easy way to sort of browse through your inbox and see your messages. What you've never been able to do is do fine-grained notifications that are more fine-grained even than your phone does. The best that you could do is basically take your phone's notifications and project them onto your wrist.
Yeah, push them. Yeah.
But I want a really, really fine-grained notification. Like, I want to know if it's an email from my boss that's directed to me in the to field. Then buzz my wrist.
Oh.
Right? Like, I want to be able to set filters for my wrist's notification that are like complex Outlook filters.
Wow.
I want it to be very precise about like notify me when it's necessary to notify me.
What an interesting
There's
idea.
There's too many things on the phone as it is that notify you, but you can kind of ignore phone notifications, especially if you don't have them buzz or make noise.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of things that notify me that I'm like, okay, I see her in the notification drawer, but it's not like gonna disturb me. If you're gonna bother me this is the problem we have in every aspect of computing, every platform, every place, your desktop, your phone, your tablet, now your wrist, there's notification bloat.
Yes.
There's too many notifications, and they're drowning out the legit stuff that you need to see.
Absolutely.
Like, there are things that really matter that I would really want to be notified about. But in order to get those things notifying me, I'm also getting a bunch of things that I don't need to notify me.
Sure. Like a reminder from Facebook 3 minutes before our show tonight to remind me that I had a show tonight.
Yeah. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. That's like, come on, man.
That makes you less.
I know this already.
That makes you less interested in checking your notifications as a whole because, it's probably just Facebook reminding me that I've got a show in 3 minutes.
It becomes the haptic feedback that cried wolf.
Yeah, exactly. My hope here is that, because it wouldn't be the first time they've done it, that this is a sign that they're about to start caring again. Google Voice was almost completely abandoned for a number of years. And right before they did a complete UI remake on the mobile app and the website, they refreshed the logo and turned it into the more modern Google logo instead of the one with the terrible fake shadow and all of that, the Apple-style bubbly logo. So maybe that's what this is. Maybe this is the same thing that they just went, oh, wait, we have a thing called Android Wear. I think we've all forgotten about it. Maybe we should try again.
I mean, I like the fact that they're not giving up on the category. Hopefully not giving up on the category. Because I think having a wearable uh, is good. I mean, it could be good, but it's just been such an unambitious thing. Like, I want not just the fine grained notifications, but I want to be able to do like video conferencing from there. Maybe that's crazy Dick Tracy stuff, but if it was right there on my wrist, it would be kind of useful. I don't know. You do a quick, hey, I don't know, but that's the kind of thing that gets kind of written off because it's like, well, why don't you just use your phone? So I don't know. I
I,
think there's I
I
think there's
understand.
room to make it more interesting.
For sure. And I'm hoping that doing a rebrand is a sign from Google that they're about to start trying. Hopefully. Chrome OS, they added the space between Chrome and OS. And when they did that was right before they announced that Android apps were coming to it. They changed the logo for Google Voice right before they totally redid the UI platform wide. I'm hoping that it's the same thing here. They've rebranded it just in time. They went and tried to figure out what some of the public problems were, solved some of the public problems while also working on the all of the things that we just talked about, or at least one of them. If they if they could solve just one of the problems that you just brought up, it would make it a much better platform. Hopefully, Google, hopefully you're listening. Avram's got some ideas for you, and I liked all of them. So this week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by Monster Products. The headphones on my head right now, the Monster DNAs, as well as my favorite, the Monster Elements, in on-ear, over-ear, in-ear, true wireless now, a whole variety of elements. Plus, if those aren't your style, if you're a big sports person, the iSports, there's a whole line of headphones and speakers from the little S100 to the giant Monster Blaster, and the cables and power to connect them together. There is a product to fit your needs, and you can find all of those products by going to plughitslive.com/monster. And of course, that music means that it is time for the Pilch Point with online editorial director of Laptop Magazine and Tom's Guide, Avram Pilch. And Avram, you have got one of my favorite topics of the year.
Yes, but first I have to say that I went to a Judas Priest concert last night, and it was like listening to the intro to the Pilch Point. Anyway, I was excited.
I love that you love your intro music.
Yes. It's like when they have part in the concert where the lead singer comes in, rides in on a motorcycle.
Okay.
It's like, it's time for the Pilch Point. Anyway. So this time of year, we do at Laptop Mag, we do the Tech Support Showdown, where we call, email, use web support, live chat, social media to evaluate the quality of tech support that you get from the 10 most popular laptop brands. So we always, before I tell you who won and who lost, the way that we do it is we pick 3 questions, and then we try to answer them using the various means that are available. Web articles on the sports site for these companies, calling and live chatting and so on. So we see how easy is it for us to get the answer? Can we get the answer? And very often, obviously, whether it's through the live chat or through the phone, we deal with live human beings, and we get some advice that's wrong. And so that's part of the evaluation as well. What do companies know and what do they not know? And one of the things that we asked this year was about the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerability. how do I protect myself from Spectre and Meltdown, which is not as clear-cut an answer as it could be, because you could say, well, there's some things you can do and there's some things that you can't do, and here you need to make sure that that you keep all the Windows updates on hand. You check to see if you have a BIOS update, all that stuff. So most companies were fairly good about this, but some actually said things like, "There's nothing you can do," or "You just need to have antivirus software," which is definitely not the answer we were looking for. Um, and then we also ask each manufacturer an individual question about that particular, that is really unique to them, the piece of software that they have, or is only on that laptop. That we use a particular test laptop for each brand. We pick one out, and so our winner, as they've won, I think, every year. So sorry for the lack of suspense and excitement at the very top. Is Apple again, scoring 93 out of 100 points. Apple, it's getting to be a tougher competition for them. They're only 3 points ahead of the second place. But Apple continues to do really well because their support techs really know the operating system, really know Mac OS very well, and they know their products very well. One of the issues that you have with a lot of the PC vendors is if your question is too Windows oriented, about a setting in Windows, they may or may not know the answer. And in a couple of cases, they won't even try to answer. They'll refuse to answer because they'll say it's not their problem. It's a Windows problem. So that kind of separation from the companies kind of not knowing enough about the software that's on the computer is an issue. And then sometimes it's their own proprietary software. So we had a couple of companies, for example, that we asked questions about where the answer was, oh yeah, like we asked a couple of companies questions about audio software, like, oh, how do I adjust the sound profile on this? And their company installs like Bose audio software, or one of the various audio softwares. They say, oh, there's no way to do that. Well, it's right there on your machine. So unfortunately, sometimes tech support people are not the most knowledgeable about their product. But some are. So Apple is number one. Dell and Samsung tied for number two with 90 points apiece. And Dell had a very interesting. Each one of us takes one or two of the brands to do, and I had Dell. That was my brand this year, and I have to say I had a very interesting experience with them, which I give them credit for. But as a journalist who is trying to not get caught,
okay,
I was a little frustrated by their attentiveness. So what happens is, obviously, when we call these companies with a tech support problem, I don't say, hello, I'm Abram, a journalist, and I'm trying to judge you. I obviously call as like a regular user, and I don't use my real name. So with Dell, they have almost turned they don't call it this, but I'm going to call it this. They almost give you a concierge service. 3 out of 4 times when I was dealing with them, the person offered me to send me their direct email address. So if they had any follow-up, any problems in the future, I could just contact them directly. And it wasn't their home email address, but it was a direct email address at Dell where I could reach that person. So what happened one time, and supposedly if I called again, I might get my person. So what happened was, one time, so we tested asking the questions on the phone. We tested asking the same questions on social media. We don't have you. So I tweeted at the Dell Cares Twitter my question, which was about Cortana, setting up Cortana, and whatever you do with Dell, this is actually true with almost all of the brands. they don't really want to give you an answer until you give them your serial number, your exact serial number of your exact laptop. So they tweeted back to me, "What's your service tag?" Which is the same as which is serial number.
Right.
So I tweeted back at them. A couple hours later, Vishal, the guy who I talked to like 3 days before, called me on Friday night. He said, "What's wrong? I see you filed a ticket about the same thing that you asked me about 2 days ago." I was like, I was like, I must have tweeted that 2 days ago. Sorry. And then he said, "You got to talk to my boss." And then I talked to his boss. His boss said, "Are you satisfied with your computer? Because if you're not satisfied with your computer, really let us know." And it was like, really, almost over the top. But I really don't think that they knew I was a journalist. I tried again under another name in another computer. I switched computers, and the same sorts of things happen. So you get a person, a dedicated person, I guess, at least for a while. I thought it was a time limit of like a day, but apparently not. Who is assigned to you, and they may call you back. So, I think a normal person who was not a journalist trying not to get caught would love this service. So we give them very high marks. Samsung also did a great job of answering questions. And then at the bottom of our list, we won't talk about the middle. The bottom of the list, we have a couple of MSI takes up the bottom again. Their phone support was actually pretty good, but their web support was really poor. It was really hard to get answers from their website. It had a lot of issues. And we had some unfortunate issues with Razer's phone support. Razer had really good web support, and when we got through to their phone support, they gave us good answers on most of the questions that we asked. But we did have an issue with them for where their phone system was down for multiple days, and that was very concerning because there was no notice given to the users. You would call and you would be put on hold for 30 minutes, and then it would hang up. And after we notified them that, hey, we experienced this, they said, "Oh, we were doing an upgrade and the service came back up." But it really concerns us that their users were not notified that if this was a purposeful upgrade, it concerns us that there was no notice to the consumers, to the customers, that like, hey, this phone service isn't available.
Yeah.
And not, at least a message when you call saying, hang up, because instead of putting you on hold for 30 minutes. So, so they lost some points there. But, after the phone service came back up, which, we hope this was just a one-time incident. We got good answers, and their web answers were good. So that's kind of our tops and bottoms. I encourage everybody to check out the story, which is on the homepage at laptopmag.com, and see how your favorite brand did on phone support. We have a lot more details than just the score there. Each brand has a detailed report card explaining exactly what happened when we called and used their website. So please check it out.
Now, I've got a question, because you mentioned that Apple has been number one for a while, which obviously, if people have been following along, we've been talking about that for a couple of years. But is Apple staying steady and the next closest are creeping up on them? Or have the other guys been staying steady and Apple's score has been creeping down over the last couple of years?
Actually, no, I think both are. I think the other brands are coming up, not Apple going down. Apple's actually made some improvements too, by the way.
Good.
So they didn't always have Twitter support. Now they have Twitter support. Although, let's be honest here, it's a strange way to ask for support to tweet at some account. Like, you know, if you really need support for something, your first stop should be the company website to see if there's an article on it. You know, if the computer is physically, like, you have a suspicion that the computer is physically broken, like this cannot be resolved through a new driver or changing a setting or something like that, then you probably got to call.
Right.
You know, but I wouldn't recommend calling for just. I mean, we called. We can't, unfortunately, create a defective computer in our lab. We would love to do that. You know,
Sure.
create a computer that we could, you know, try to go through the RMA process and find out how hard it is.
Right.
But it's a little difficult because, like, we have to really do a good job of faking it, and you don't want just a computer you broke. You want one that is actually eligible for warranty service that is defective out of the box.
Right.
So how are we going to get a computer that's defective out of the box on purpose? I don't know. So
right. Unless you had some sort of a really, really detailed relationship with a retailer like Best Buy, the chances of making that happen are pretty slim.
that would be interesting if we had a company that could, like, yeah. Also, whatever, if we did that for one, we'd have to do that for all 10.
Right.
So it wouldn't be enough to just find like one HP and one Acer, and
Yeah.
that were defective out of the box. We have to find one of each brand. So that could be, that's challenging. So in lieu of that, we ask questions to test their knowledge. But the kind of questions that we ask, a lot of people who are more tech savvy could find an answer on their own. But listen, you could be, extremely tech savvy, and if your monitor's broke, if the screen on your laptop's broken, it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta call, and if you gotta call and get your warranty service. So, for those things, you just gotta call. But I mean, I think Apple has improved themselves in a couple of ways, and other companies are taking steps to improve themselves. I think what Dell has done, getting the more attentive service is a big deal. But we also saw some brands that were near the top slip back by offering worse questions and worse phone support this year than last. Lenovo and Acer both dropped by several points.
Oh.
So, so it's not, it's a moving target. You got to keep it going, and support is a cost center for these companies. A lot of them aren't really excited to do it, especially phone support. They like to kind of bury the phone number sometimes, so it's hard to find. But hey, that's part of the experience. You want to know that if push comes to shove and your product is broken, or your product, you really need help, that they're going to be there for you.
For sure.
So check out check this out. And I do want to put in a pitch that this Tech Support Showdown is sort of the prequel to our best and worst brands, which we expect to come out around April 15th. That is our biggest feature of the whole year, and that's where we rate each of these brands, and how they did in Tech Support Showdown is counted toward their overall brand rating. So a company that does well here has a better shot in best and worst brands, and a company that does poorly here has a worse shot. So stay tuned.
Well, Abram, as I said, it's one of my favorite features of the year. I love the detail that you guys go into on it, and it's definitely something that's an important factor to consider when buying a computer. And I'm glad that it's not Apple slipping that brought the other 3 points within. I'm glad to hear that Samsung and HP have improved to the point where they're 3 points within. So that's awesome. And as always, thank you for bringing this stuff to us. And we will talk to you about another topic from Laptop or Tom's Guide next week. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories that you need to up your gaming experience, whether it be on PC or console, are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a new gaming mouse or a keyboard or a microphone, headsets, webcam, or a full laptop, Razer's got it all, and they've got the Razer phone. All available with some deals right now available by going to f5live.tv/Razer. So we've talked about it twice as things have changed, and it's time, I think, to bring the story to its conclusion. Star Wars Battlefront 2, before it came out, was a PR disaster when it was announced that there would be a large focus on microtransactions and an in-game currency that would allow you to purchase product in the game that would normally take a tremendous amount of time, more time than most people spend on an average video game, even a AAA title, to achieve. And I believe, if I remember correctly, we did the math a couple months ago, and it was like $2,200 or $2,100 or something like that was how much it would have cost to purchase all of the unlockable content in the game, which obviously was a tremendous amount of money. More recently, we talked about that as the game launched, EA said, we're going to pull the microtransactions for now. We're going to decrease the in-game requirements for earning the in-game currency, and other than that, everything's going to stay the same. And then, but that's not necessarily how we're gonna do it. And everybody was like, all right, well, I guess for now that's okay, but sure sounds like you're going to try and get us later. This week, EA finally admitted defeat by saying that microtransactions were not going to be a part of the game, and the progression system in the game has been changed so that it is a true linear progression, and you'll earn your things as you earn your things, which is the way a normal game would go. And the good news is that if you did, for whatever reason, you earned in-game currency and then you bought things in the game before this change, any items that you have will not be revoked just because that they're beyond your progression level. So that's good to hear. So what do you think, Abram? Do you think EA made the right decision here, or did they bow to pressure inappropriately?
Well, it's hard for me to side with a game company charging people more for in-game purchases. It's getting people to buy more things in games. So I think they probably did the right thing here. Whether they're going to, who knows what it'll mean for their next title.
Right.
I think they obviously want to have in-app purchases, so they want to make more money off of those things.
Sure.
So I guess they're going to have to find a way to do it without sort of creating a public relations nightmare. And I think
without sacrificing the actual playability of the game itself.
Yeah, it's a tough balance for sure.
Yeah, it's a tightrope walk that none of the companies seem to want to walk, but have to if they want to include any kind of microtransactions. We've talked a little bit about it in the past. Some of the mobile games have implemented it, impressively well. The Nintendo games, Pokemon Go, the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, have both made the game very playable, but made the in-app purchases an incentive, but the games are still fun and playable even if you don't do that. So there's definitely a way to do it. I think EA needs to kind of pull some of the learnings from Playfish. I know they shut it down a couple of years ago, much to my annoyance, but maybe they need to go relearn what Playfish knew, because Playfish made it work.
Yeah, they made, who knows? I think are losing a lot of money on having not implemented it correctly the first time. They now are in kind of a no-win situation. So they're gonna walk away with as much goodwill as they can by not implementing it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But it'll be interesting to see what future titles out of EA look like, and whether they, like, what do we hold off for a full season and let a whole generation of games come out and not try again and then do it, so that maybe people have forgotten? Although EA, I'll let you know, gamers never forget stuff like this. Or do they just be EA and just try it again in their next AAA title? It'll be interesting to see.
I think they will try it again, but maybe a little bit more subtlety.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some subtlety. I guess the important takeaway here is Battlefront 2 will no longer cost you $2,200 to progress all the way through. If you want to play the more advanced stuff, you don't have to pay a whole lot of money. You can actually get it through a normal linear progression now. So, hooray! I think that'll make the game more playable, and maybe EA will actually sell some copies of it, because they have not had great sales on it because people were worried what this was going to turn out to be, which I think is another reason why they absolutely had to do this. Is they haven't had great sales on it because people simply didn't know what how the game was gonna play. So this week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies, or let the professionals do it for you, because that's what they get paid to do. The guys who used to do Mystery Science Theater 3000 are back and doing what they do best, making fun of movies. From blockbusters to Oblivion 2 Backlash, they've got a little bit of everything. The way it normally works is, for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. From time to time, they do some live shows. They've got a couple of days left on their 2018 Kickstarter, with a variety of perks that you can get for backing it. They plan to do Space Mutiny and Crawl, and it appears that they are already over their goal. So that's good. We will look forward to seeing those. And of course, they've always got a deal going, and right now, the deal that runs through tomorrow is Samurai Cop. Save a couple of dollars on that, and a new movie will come out tomorrow. For all of the deals, for all of the movies, and to help back the project, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftrax with an X. Oh, Kroll. So, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin. Or in cryptocurrencies in general. Two interesting things happened this week. First, AdSense, or Google, made a decision that they would no longer serve any ads for cryptocurrencies, because there was a rise in ads for ICOs, or initial coin offerings, and it requires a lot of fact checking, because a lot of the ICOs, as it turns out, have been scams. And so Google decided, you know what, let's not go to the fact checking trouble on this. Let's just get out of it. And as a result, there was a lot of loss in the valuation of a number of the currencies. The two primaries, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum, both took a hit because most of the other currencies are based on one of these two technologies. And so both markets took a hit because nobody quite knew what it could mean. Is it that nothing cryptocurrency related was going to be advertised, or was it just the cryptocurrencies themselves? What was going to go away? So everybody panicked. It turns out that Google was saying no cryptocurrency related financial services of any kind. So none of the exchanges, all of that, no more ads. So the platforms, the valuations all took a hit this week because of this. Because some people find out about new trading platforms and stuff through the Google ads, and so there was definitely some sell-off panic. Good move, bad move. What do you think, Abram, on Google's part?
Good move.
Good move. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, a good move on Google's part. Listen, they don't need the headache. I mean, you have to look at it from Google's perspective, their business. They don't need, they don't want to, like, I was wondering this because I don't know the answer. Like, does AdSense accept gambling ads? Do they accept adult ads? I mean, I don't see any of them, but I don't know if they accept those ads in certain places.
Yes, I know that gambling is one of the categories. I don't think that adult ads are, but gambling is one of the categories because it's one of the ones that we turned off for our site because we saw them way too frequently.
Right, so you can turn it, a lot of people turn it off. I mean, I think the thing is that they don't want to, this is too controversial of a topic.
Mm-hmm.
People losing a lot of money on cryptocurrency, they're protective of their brand, even though when you think about it, all they're really doing is providing an ad network.
Mm-hmm.
But I think publishers might not like to see cryptocurrency ads on their sites either, because it sort of sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme.
Uh-huh.
Right? So, like, for example, our website, Sounds Guide and Laptop Mag, they take Google AdSense. Now, I have no idea. I don't manage that relationship.
Sure.
The ads show up. We have people who do that. But, but if I saw that we had cryptocurrency ads running on our website, I would write to those people and be like, listen, I know we're making money off this, but could we please turn off the cryptocurrency ad?
Yeah.
Just as if I saw gambling ads on there,
Mm-hmm.
I would say the same thing. So, I mean, Google perhaps could have put cryptocurrency into a category that you could turn off, but maybe they foresaw that this was going to be a problem. Having people turn off.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when you look at the fact that, a number of the ICOs have been problematic, to say the least, to a point where it has the concept has been damaged because of some of the fake ICOs and fraudulent ones that have been out there. But then, how many times, just in 2018, how many times have you and I had a conversation that involved talking about either a heist from one of these trading platforms, or a full service shutdown, or, if I were Google, I wouldn't necessarily want to see on my network a Mt. Gox ad, because what a disaster that was. $480 something million loss one night, or the guys that just disappeared for a while because it turned out that they weren't actually charging anybody for transactions. Like, it's such a like a disaster of an industry right now. I don't blame them for walking away from it.
Yeah, me neither.
There's a lot of money in it for them. I know. And you know what? Google annoys me a lot of times, and we've talked about that. But you know what? From time to time, they do something that is, I think, the correct move for both the company and for people in general. And I think this is one of those times where they showed, you know what? We can't. This is so weird of a thing. We don't want to be involved in it.
Yeah, I think it's wise of them.
Yeah, to walk away from guaranteed money in an industry with a lot of disposable income, they walked away because no thanks. It's just not a good idea, and I think that's commendable for them. That, and when they walked out of China because China wanted them to do something that they didn't want to do. I think those are a couple of examples of them going, you know what, no. And that's a good thing. I think we need to see some more of that from more companies. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know your standard Amazon Prime benefits. You get free shipping on a lot of products, but you may not know that you also get free movies, free TV, free music. In some places you can have groceries delivered within like 2 hours to your home. And with Twitch Prime, you get now 2 big benefits. The first is that if you spend time on Twitch, you get 1 free subscription every month. And 2, that was announced this week, you now get the ability to get a number of free games every month. The games that are available right now have been free through Amazon before, but if you've missed out on them before, you can get them. And those games are supposed to rotate out every month. So to find out what games you can get for free right now, and to find out about all of the other benefits, or if you're not currently a subscriber, to get a free 30-day trial to find out if it's for you, you can go to f5live.tv/prime.
Wow, did you know Prime Video has Valerian and the Thousand Planets for free?
Really? I feel like that was.
I wasn't gonna spend my.
I feel like that was just in the theater.
In the theater, not long ago.
Wow.
Definitely. I haven't seen it. I hear it's definitely not a see it in the theater type of movie.
Uh-huh.
But for free, it's included with your Prime. Probably sounds like it could be worth the time.
That might be what I watch while the show renders tonight. It's been on my list of things to watch for, so cool.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm excited about the new free games from Twitch Prime, but that's another topic. Let's instead talk about music and radio and all of that stuff. We know there's a lot of streaming platforms out there, and we've been watching as the industry gets a little more cutthroat. Microsoft recently shut down their streaming service that had been around for 8 years or so. It had been the Zune Music Pass, and then the Xbox Music Pass, and then the Groove Music Pass. That service recently went away, and we've seen other companies who weren't necessarily in that space try and get into that space or purchase into that space. Apple bought Beats Music and rebranded it to Apple Music to try and get into the space. iHeartMedia, who had always streamed their radio stations, has gotten into a streaming music platform as well. So it's a really cutthroat business, and this week, 2 interesting things happened, one for the positive and possibly one for the negative. The positive is Spotify is doing so well that they have filed for an IPO. an initial purchase offering, for those who don't know, essentially meaning that Spotify is going to go public in April. So in just about a month, they will go public. And that's usually a sign that a company feels confident in their position in the market. The investors all feel confident, and there's a lot of people who have to really feel like we're in a place that we can pull this off before the cost of filing for an IPO happens. And so Spotify feels confident in their market position, which is the market leader. They've got the most subscribers of any streaming platform. On the other hand, iHeartMedia, which used to be Clear Channel and iHeartRadio, two different companies merged together into one, and Clear Channel renamed themselves iHeartMedia, and they announced bankruptcy this month. Now, that's not something that anybody should be surprised about. Avram and I talked about that 6 months ago, that it was likely that by the end of the first quarter of this year, we would see a bankruptcy filing from iHeartMedia, because they have they over-leveraged themselves in a number of places, including creating their own streaming platform. But the purchase of the Clear Channel outdoor marketing was a disaster for them, because that was technically a separate company that didn't come with it was a disaster. They weren't even allowed to rebrand it. They've made some mistakes, but I've talked to some people in the industry who feel that maybe this could be a good thing for them. If anybody's going to be able to get out of this, to use the bankruptcy for restructuring, it's them. There's a lot of their debtors who are now willing to negotiate, which is important because they have a lot of debt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it begs the question of, like, how much longer for terrestrial radio?
I don't know. I don't think terrestrial radio goes anywhere. Terrestrial radio has like 3 to 5 times the number of listeners on an average day that compared to streaming services. So I don't know that terrestrial radio goes anywhere, but it may not all be controlled by the former Clear Channel Communications. It may break into smaller divisions, which I don't think would be a bad thing.
No, that would be fine. I mean, it's too much consolidation at this point anyway. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a really great use case on the radio for like news and sports. The use case for music, for listening to random songs on music channels, as more people turn to streaming, becomes less and less. Like, yes, I mean, and eventually you have to think that everything will just be delivered over the internet, and you'll get it over, 5G or something.
Sure.
But I guess we're not that close to that, because the, streaming is not, it's not ubiquitous and free. Sure. to get your internet connection.
Yeah.
Over cellular, but still, I don't know. I don't get very excited about, like, when we're in the car and my wife's driving, it's like she used to put on the radio to listen to like music. We almost never do that anymore. It's like we put on a playlist.
Yeah.
If we want to listen to a baseball game, or we want to get like some news, sure, we'll turn on the radio for that information.
Sure.
Current up-to-date information. But I'm not so sure that, there's a need in 2018 and beyond for music stations.
Perhaps. Obviously, the former Clear Channel Communications owns both music and talk stations. So right now, all of it is in question. But yeah, I certainly don't think we necessarily need as many terrestrial music stations as exist. Like here, we've got 2 or 3 of every genre, and most of them are owned by iHeart, which is bizarre to me for them to own, say, 2 country stations in Tampa. That concept is bizarre, and we'll probably see that start getting pared down a lot. But like, I can't convince my mother to do streaming at all. She loves listening to music on the radio. No idea why. I have not listened to radio music in probably since 2002, because I absolutely can't stand it. But obviously there are people who love it. So I think there's a little bit of a place, but not a big one. I don't think there's, when this is over, that there's 30 music broadcast stations in the Tampa market.
Don't you also think that the DJs will be replaced? I don't know how often this is happening, but do you remember Jack? There was a station that came on. This was a big controversy here in New York several years ago. The oldies station was replaced with a station called Jack, and there was no human DJ on Jack.
Yes,
it was a computer sort of picking, like, oh, we think you'll like this, we think you'll like that, and so they got rid of the human element of it.
There were 3 platforms, 3 software platforms. 2 of them had a mobile app that people could vote for songs, and Las Vegas was the first city that I encountered this in, and it made the radio fun because it was fun to mess with other people and play songs that were like totally inappropriate for the station we were on. But yes, I totally remember when this started to become a thing. I don't think we have any of them here in Tampa, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if they're cutting expenses, and I feel bad, like having real human DJs is obviously better, but I wonder if it's going to become that kind of a like operation where it's just all like basically the equivalent of Pandora, but over the air. Right.
Could be. A lot. It's what a lot of stations have done for decades when they change their format in that transition time. They go to either a preset playlist or some sort of a computer randomly generated playlist. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that start happening after this all comes down. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what the end result is, because they might be able to manage their debt, in a way that Toys R Us wasn't capable of accomplishing, and actually be able to eliminate or negotiate down some of this, or maybe they'll sell off some of their stations to other companies to try and generate. It's what the thing that Kmart did before they totally screwed things up is they closed a couple of stores, they sold their stores, they ended up with cash in hand. They bought Sears and then ruined them too. But that, bad management is going to do bad things no matter what brand name is on the building. But perhaps if they've got the right management in place now, if they could sell off some assets, they might be able to fix some of their problems. And if they can put more of their resources behind this streaming service and maybe compete with the Spotify's and Apple Music's, and maybe they could actually have a chance. It's a brand that people so naturally associate with music because iHeartRadio was one of the original popular music platforms. It streamed local radio stations, but from anywhere, which was an interesting concept. But people so associate the iHeart brand with the music festival and all of that. If they put some resources behind their streaming platform, they could actually have some success there, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
If anybody could get into the market and have success with it, I think it's them. That is our show. Thank you to those of you who have joined us live. We always appreciate our live listeners and our live viewers. If you didn't join us live, that's okay. If you'd like to in the future, you can on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us, and from there you will see you'll be able to join us and chat with us in the studio. If not, that is okay. You can always go to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, and there you will see all of our shows, including F5 Live and Pilch Point and all of our other series as well. The next week or so, as we said at the beginning of the show, is going to be interesting. So Saturday, Sunday, and I think Tuesday we have shows. So that link, f5live.tv/join us, will work on all of those days. So definitely come check us out. And I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we will see you guys back next week. Ciao.